It is 9 a.m. here in Los Angeles. It's Tuesday, June 3rd, AD 2025. And we're going to have a fun, loosey-goosey The Hake Report show featuring The Hake Report show. The Hake Report featuring a special guest, a repeat guest, a much loved and much hated guest, Crishaun the Don of the Misfit Nation. Very cool. So we're gonna be. Oh, oops. Thanks.
Did you want that?
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. No, I did. Let's see. How did you fix that? Oh yeah, you fixed it. Yeah. Macros. Let me just go. A B. B? Wait.
You want to go small?
No. Yeah, I want to go full screen actually. No. I know that one. Macros control.
Just go back to camera 1.
Page 2. Camera 1. No. Full screen on both of us. I'm such a boomer.
My bad, I got you. Camera mode 100.
How do I find it?
In macros page, top.
Macros page. I'm such a boomer, but I'm so stubborn about this. Okay, 100%. Nice. Yeah. Oops. Nice. I just wanted to make sure that I got it. Thank you, Anchor Baby. He's training me on this on-stream training. And then I kind of like having it like this so that I can do this. Nice. Oh, and then I'll do this. Because honestly, that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, guys, just a little bit of talking shop. Let me unmute this man. Is it guitar? Is that you, Crishaun? Let me see. Oh, yeah.
Just hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Nice, man.
Nice.
Thank you for joining. Crishaun the Don of the Misfit Nation. He has his, the Misfit shop, misfitnation.com, something like that.
Actually, no, I don't want to direct people over there because
Okay.
I have a problem with Teespring right now. So.
Oh, yeah. Don't we all? Oh, yeah. Since October of last year, I haven't been able to receive hardly any of my orders from Teespring.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Yeah, Mark
it's
Dice.
horrible.
Mark Dice, my competitor, is also abandoning Teespring. So I suggest Printify, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but, I don't want to direct people over there, so don't worry about Shop Misfit Nation right now.
Nice.
Eventually, I'll reopen it. But yeah, you can follow us on Rumble at the Misfit Nation. June 20th will be our first official day on Rumble, so we're looking forward to that one.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Rumble is awesome. So is it going to be on the channel or is it going to be on the user page?
That I'm not sure. I just have to dive in before I, know the ins and outs of it. Right. So, yeah, just follow both pages. I'm not sure which one it's going to be on. I'll figure all that out.
Right on, man.
Well, at the Misfit Nation, guys.
We're going to have a loosey-goosey The Hake Report show, everybody. Oh, nice. Thanks, baby. So Crishaun the Don is going to be taking your calls, and we're going to talk about different stuff going on in the world. The race issue, white men under attack, maybe Trump, maybe some of the little bit of news. There's been anti-Second Amendment stuff, Crishaun, in Maryland and Rhode Island that the Supreme Court let slide. And hold on one moment.
Yeah,
so here.
Go up there.
And I want to know what's wrong with New England or whatever you want to call it, Rhode Island and Maryland, because they don't seem like very Mexican or black areas. Well, Maryland maybe a little bit, but I just don't get why those Vermont and all those places are so liberal. It's ridiculous. Like they have that socialist guy in Vermont. So anyway, I'm talking over the recording over here. So, want to talk about that, or just ask you about that. But you guys can call in 1-888-775-3773. And pardon my talking all loud on this. I need to do a different video. That was a Christmas video. Anyway, guys, let's just, I think, get right on. I think it's worth doing it. Turn this down now. Oh, no, hold on. Wrong one. With the show!
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey, guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, how you guys doing? I am fine. And as we announced, Crishaun the Don of the Misfit Nation is here. And Crishaun overheard the conversation we had yesterday with Hayden from Texas, who brought up the question because JLP mentioned that there is no greater attack in America or the world than the attack on men. And Hayden took a little issue with that. He's like, do you agree with that? I think the greater attack is on whites, and the attack on men is a close second. What do you have to say about that, Crishaun? And was there any other point there made?
Well, I think because it's funny, me and Skrill, my co-host on Misfit Nation, on our last show, we actually tried to make a list of what's the actual order of who is the most protected in America.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we realized, because we were kind of breaking it down, and I was like, I think, like, for instance, Muslims are one of the most protected people in America. We put gays at the top.
Yeah.
Gays, you can't touch them, you can't do anything. Like, you can't even talk about them. Like, it's it's a problem.
Right.
And also the thing though is that we realized we did have to actually break it down into putting Christians on the list.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And I realized that Christians are actually lower on the list than white people are. Because in reality, I think the real attack is on Christian men. You know what I mean? Because it really doesn't matter. Like, for instance, let's just use Jesse Lee Peterson as an example. Black is the ace of spades, right?
Yep.
He gets it, worse than all of us. You know what I mean?
True.
So, like,
successful people, successful men, too. Because if he were not successful, he would be nothing.
Listen, they hate. If you want to add all the caveats, yes, they hate successful. They hate charismatic men. They hate masculine men.
Yeah.
But that's what I think when we say man, we're encompassing all of that.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you look at like beta males, for instance, they don't really have those qualities.
True.
Right?
Yeah, they're not men.
So, yeah. And the reason is because specifically Christian men is because we're the ones that actually do fight against things like tyranny. We Christians abolish slavery. Like, we actually do the right thing in general. And it's you look at like the government right now and why they're attacking Christian men is because they're Satanists. You know what I mean? So of course they're going to attack us. Of course we're going to be their problem, but they're going to add all these like other things to sort of like muddy the waters, where it's like, actually it's white Christian men. We're going to go after the white men. But in reality, when they say white, they include people like Jesse Lee Peterson. They include Larry Elder and Thomas Sowell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not black.
Right.
So that's why I always bring it to the thing of white and blackness have nothing to do with skin color. Like, it's a thing that you fall for when you go, okay, yeah, I'm white because my skin color. But in reality, they just hate your ideals. They hate that you're a strong male, a strong Christian male.
Yeah.
So that was really all I wanted to add to it. That I think if we're gonna add the thing to the descriptor to who they're actually attacking, it's Christians more than it is anybody. You can say anything you want about Christians, you won't get in trouble for it.
You know, they do value the idea of symbols, though. So they'll knock down a weak looking white, or a weak white, or a weak Christian, or a weak man, a weak whatever that is hated, just because they are those things, because the look-alike, it represents something. The cops, for example, they'll go after the cops because like they represent authority, God, law and order, and those are things that they hate. And I noticed that it's not just the attacks come not just because the whites represent more of the real Christian as opposed to like the black social justice Christian, racial justice Christian that's into the blackness.
Mhm.
It's not just because the whites are more like just and fair, which I think they are. It's also because the whites fall for it so often, and the Christians are weak as well, falling for it. The men are weak as well. So the weaker we get, and part of it is because of the attacks have kind of worked, but because we're weak to the attacks is why they attack. If the attacks didn't work, they would eventually either stop attacking or they'd cry in a corner, and it wouldn't be a cultural force that it is. You understand what I'm saying? Like the whites cave to the racism accusation, or they get mad about it, which is both weakness.
The way you have, right? I agree with you. I get what their strategy is. However, the thing is that their strategy also has to incorporate them getting people to move over to their side, to reject Christianity, reject God, and move over to their side, whether they know it or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's kind of the point of like where it's like they can take something that they'll see all the things that we agree with on, which is, you know, sometimes like there's you know, obviously there's black people who do share our values, right?
Yeah.
However, it's easy for them to go, okay, well, you know, ignore that. Look at skin color. Like and I hate to sound like this guy, but it really is a distraction from what we're really fighting here, which is Satanism. It's good versus evil. It's very simple. They're trying to muddy the water so much that good versus evil isn't as clear anymore. You know what I mean?
True.
So now we're looking at things as you know, simple as skin color and going, okay, that's how I'm going to choose my allies, when in reality it's your values, it's how you live your life, your morality, you know, even your religion. That's way more important. Like, take the thing that I said earlier, Jesse Lee Peterson and James Hake. You guys get the same criticisms, the same you know, the same accusations, all that type of stuff. The only thing that you kind of don't have in common is your race.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing of like where people are taking that and making it so important is the thing that I'm like, I think you guys are being distracted by what the real argument is here, or the real battle, let's say.
I think that's fair. A lot of some of the whites have said that they are God's chosen people, that Christianity is a white man's religion. What do you say to that?
I'd say that they're not really Christians.
Dang, that's hardcore.
At what point does Christianity say we exclude anybody from being? There's a lot of things, like for instance, and I don't mean like exclude, like, you know, like I know that's how that sounds, but I get, like, you know, people who aren't living the right way, you can remove them from your life and stuff, you know, pray for them. I mean, in that salvation, finding Christ, you know, like there's a lot of people that have already made the decision that, well, I'm not going to go out and share the share the good word of Christ because they're not going to be saved. They're evil. And it's like, that's not Christianity. Like, there's no place in the Bible that says, spread the word of God until it gets too hard.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's where I mean, like, a lot of people will go, like, how do you still have this, like, thing? People ask me on my show, how do you still have this thing where you want people to be saved? And it's like, because I'm a Christian. Otherwise, if I don't feel that way, I'm just as bad as the Satanists. What's the point then? Like, so that's what I'm saying. I don't choose people's salvation for them. If they want to come to it, they can. But it's not going to stop me from trying to bring them to God.
Right. That's fair. I noticed that that the white Christians tend to be like the more conservative ones, though. Like all the other POCs, the Hispanic Christians, they fall for the racism thing, and become like granted, a lot of whites fall for it too, but it's not to the level, or the insanity, or the accusatoriness of the POCs, if you will. The black Christians definitely have that bad, and the even the Hispanic and Asian Christians, there's something wrong with the thinking of the POCs. Like the anti-white narrative seeps into them like crazy. I don't get what's going on exactly, other than just that people identify with themselves and people are intellectual. And so for whatever reason, people get caught up in their identity, their fake physical identity. They identify with the physical and
with the flesh.
Yeah, and then just start to be suspicious and accuse and judge the whites as racist when they're the ones being the judgmental.
Well, that's another thing, though. White people need to stop getting so defensive when they're called racists.
True. Definitely.
Like, I'm a racist. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
However, there's a thing that white people need to do. I remember when Mark called in last time, he asked me, what do you think white people should do? And one of my things was, you need to find your bravery. You need to do that through God so that you stay righteous. You know, you're not out there just chopping heads off like the muzzies.
Yeah, because that's not bravery.
That's not bravery. Yeah. Another thing is I think we need to redefine the word racism. We let the liberals control language so much that they redefined the word racism. So now calling yourself a racist is like you admitting you're evil.
Right.
When
yeah,
in reality,
they're pretending
that's
that
not
it's evil.
Right. When in reality, if we're gonna say, even the liberals will tell you everybody's racist. Right.
A lot of them will, yeah. A lot of blacks will admit everybody got a little racist in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a level of truth to that. And that's where I could say that confidently, because I don't subscribe the word racism and evil as being the same thing. You get what I mean? I've explained it to you before. When you add the suffix ist to something, you're literally just saying that you're interested in the study of something, or you're an expert in something, or like the word hate has nothing to do with ism. You know what I mean?
True.
So that was just college intellects trying to sound smart. So they add ism and,
yeah, that's partly
to everything.
That's partly why I resist the word, because it was brought up by liberals or communists, or at least popularized by them, and it was made up after this. I think it was made up after America came into existence, where America was kind of diverse, because we had the blacks here, and so they saw this phenomenon of where blacks and whites were living together. And there's been other cultures where this has happened, other civilizations where this has happened, where they get diverse, meaning different cultures having to live together and deal with each other, and Satan gets in the mind of both sides, really, and divides and adds suspicion, some of it valid, some of it not valid. And so he came up with it being racism, like that's a bad thing. But it's not even really it's a distracting concept, really. If I were to be called racist, it's because I'm interested in race stuff. I like to bring that stuff up because I find it interesting, fascinating, how people are different and how people think. And for whatever reason, there's this phenomenon where people fall in, if they're mixed, if they're black, if they're white, if they're Asian, they fall into different types of thinking, at least around where I see them. And so to me, it's useless to call it racist because it's a distraction from the point. Like there's judgment, there's right judgment and the wrong judgment. And I think if you go back to judgment, then the people judging the so-called racist is no better than the racist or worse necessarily.
Well, I more think in terms of when I talk about being a racist, it's more in terms of like the utility of it. And for instance, before I go to that, the whole thing of race and race in America and this whole thing, I look at it as more of just like a giant experiment. It's just a study of like, what if you told people, hey, here's 2 colors, you have to pick a side and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
It's like a social experiment or something. I look at it as more of a utility, like in I've talked about it before, racial profiling, I think is an important tool
Right.
in in crime and policing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, as a descriptor, as even identifying patterns, all that type of stuff. So I think that's where I go. And I do, I am in like, in the crime thing of like, stopping crime and stuff like that. So that's where I'm looking at it, as that I'm an expert in that.
Right.
You get
on.
what I mean?
Yeah, I totally know what you mean.
Yeah, but the problem is that this is where we need to take this whole thing of where Trump won the election, and now we're supposed to take this time. This is our job while Trump is doing his job, is to change the culture.
Right.
And the fact is like, I get you, Hake. A few years ago, I would have been with you in that, we need to get rid of the word racism and the whole thing. But the fact is that we're already here. We've already given up that ground. Racism is a word that's in our lexicon in America.
Yeah.
Like it's never going to go away. So the best thing we can do is redefine it.
But isn't it sort of fascinating that it doesn't actually, it's just in people's imaginations and judgment? The people who cry racism as an accusation are the most judgmental people. They're the ones blind and judgmental, prejudiced, who are accusing the so-called racist of being judgmental.
But again, the only reason they're accusing is because there's a negative connotation to racist.
But no, that's not the reason they're accusing. They're accusing because they're brainwashed to think that it even exists, and they think that it's worse than regular judgment. But so they're judging.
I don't even believe that.
They're judging because they're judgmental people. They're evil people.
I'll tell you why I don't believe that. I think it's most of the accusations of racism that you see are literally just to get somebody in trouble.
Right.
I don't think there's any like deep psychological thing behind it. And they go, okay, well, America, they're sensitive about race. I'm just going to throw out racism because it's an easy one.
Right.
I don't think they feel anything about it. The fact is that liberals, like I said, and you even agreed, they'll admit that they're racist. They'll admit that everybody is racist. So,
but it wouldn't
they
work
just
if
know
people
though
weren't...
that racist has a negative connotation that can get somebody in trouble. That's the only reason they do it.
But negative connotation implies judgment, a judgment on about the notion of it. So
yeah,
they
but it's
know
not
that,
a righteous judgment.
So they know that people are judgmental. Right. It's not righteous at all. It's
yeah,
evil.
so I don't concern myself with it.
No, but I'm just, my point is they couldn't get anybody in trouble if the surrounding culture that's lost in their intellect didn't fall for the fake notion of that judgment, for the false judgment. They have a judgment about it. Negative connotation means judgment.
Yeah,
because
of course. I'm not saying that
you can't get somebody in trouble, and you can't get somebody in trouble unless you judge. You wouldn't even try to get somebody in trouble if you're not judging them. So you're right that they don't even believe their own claim of racism most of the time, perhaps, or some of the blacks might be so ridiculous that they actually do believe it, their own lies. But yeah, I agree with you that they don't care about racism at all, really, but they're using it because people do fall for it.
Mm-hmm.
It gets
Yeah,
the
but
blacks in a
that's the,
stupor of anger. It gets the media. The media loves to use it, and
but
there's
that's
people
what
who fall for it.
the conversation though, Hake, isn't about black people and why they're using racism.
No,
The
I'm not talking about
conversation is
blacks.
why. No. The conversation though is why are white people still so defensive about being called a racist?
Because
like,
they have a judgment about it too.
Yeah, because they have
They think it's real.
bad definition of racism that they're believing in. If it didn't have the definition that it had, and the reason also why it's important, and even the liberals knew this, that's why they redefined the word.
Right.
It was like 2018, they changed the definition to include the power thing.
If you have to have power.
You have to have power.
But it's also the notion of, I remember several years ago, before 2018, when JLP was first saying it doesn't exist, 2012, 2015, 2016, people were saying that the definition was one race is superior, the notion that one race is superior to another.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all kinds of different superiorities that all the different races have over one another.
Yep.
So that's like it's a meaningless statement.
Well, that's why they had to change that. That's why they had to come up with the term white supremacist. They had to adopt
Right.
that because now that more accurately describes the supremacy thing.
Yeah.
Race, like it was too easy for us to argue that. So they were able to add the power structure thing, which again, that also kind of does mean supremacy. But that's where I'm saying I think that should be one of the things that we argue for in this whole battle when we talk about even LGBTQ, getting rid of Pride Month, all that.
Right.
That should be one of the things. We need to redefine the word racism because it's wrong. It's not right. It's not grammatically correct. It's not in reality correct. It's not objectively it's like it doesn't make sense, and it's causing too much division for us to just let that be. So either that or people take the Groiper route and just accept being a white supremacist. That's where it's going to drive you.
But there's like the Groipers are all races as well. Like they just
But
know
they
that
still-
whites should be running the country.
But if you call one
like,
of
they
them
don't even-
racist, they get defensive and they get angry.
Oh, do they? I mean, that's
Absolutely.
only because of they're angry anyway. Those
Yes.
those who do get angry about it.
They're
So
like liberal college kids. They're just going to be mad about everything with no logical reason.
I just find it interesting how these are just dumb ideas and other people thinking about you. And yes, you can get fired, whatever. You can get knocked out. You can get killed. But it's just somebody's dumb idea about you. Or a bunch of people's dumb idea about you. Or your dumb idea about yourself. Because people who call themselves white supremacists or racist or that, or stuff like that, and they're blind too, because they're, like you said, they're angry and caught up on a notion that doesn't really serve them or anybody else except for evil.
Yeah.
Even when
Or
they're on the right
they're
side
worshiping
of stuff.
their whiteness
Yeah.
over God,
True.
which is satanic.
Indeed. What a mess, huh? Don't you
Yeah,
notice
it's a lot
that?
to unpack.
Don't you notice that when people identify with themselves, that's every bit as satanic as identifying with the race or the being a woman or being this or that, or identifying with some idea. When you're like, say you get punched in the nose, and there's a flash of anger that comes. That's like the same thing happening as when you puff up on some idea that you've identified with. Like you're identifying with yourself or your body, and it's so counterproductive. Like you end up getting yourself killed or killing a person or hurting somebody and getting yourself in trouble.
I get what you mean. It's like when you really identify with something and then somebody goes after that identity, it's like getting punched in the nose to you.
Right.
You have that like, wait a minute, I have to defend this.
Yeah.
I have to fight. Rather than thinking and going like, oh, let me self analyze real quick.
Or pause for a second.
Pause for a second. And even in the physical, like if you get punched in the nose, sometimes that is the right thing to do is wait a minute, let me see what's going on.
Right.
I could be getting jumped right now, and I jump to go hit this guy, and then 5 other people come behind me. Like that's where I think the whole maybe the turn the other cheek thing, it's not necessarily a direct like, hey, let people beat you up.
Right.
It's more like think before you just react to everything.
I heard that turning the other cheek, I think I read it in some like explanation inside of the Bible. You know how they have some explanations sometimes? That in those days, and honestly, let's face it, to this day, if you get publicly slapped, that was considered a great insult. So it wasn't even a don't defend yourself physically. It was a don't defend your pride, your ego, your don't attack back when you get offended.
Yeah.
When they try to offend you. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I bring up something? Because this goes into this thing that did you see the whole Jordan Peterson debate against the atheists?
I have caught snippets of it. Yes.
Yeah. So he got like really drugged through the mud because they were saying that he got, destroyed in the debate and all that stuff. Funny enough, I watched the entire debate because I like to, see the full context before I talk about it on my show.
Nice.
And in reality, even the right wingers were saying that he lost. In reality, Jordan Peterson actually like destroyed everybody in that room.
Wow.
The problem is that he did get a couple points, which became those clips that everybody fell for. Because Jordan Peterson said at the beginning and the end of the debate, I don't debate to win. I debate to understand, and that's something that I really appreciate because there's a lot of that going on the internet, especially with the right and left thing, is all this like I'm just looking for the slam dunk, or I'm looking for this, I'm looking for the clip, and it's like at the end of all these debates, nobody actually knows who won, nobody understands each other any better,
right?
Like. And funny enough, Jordan Peterson actually did the righteous thing and went to understand those atheists. And he admits that he's not actually a Christian, Jordan Peterson, which is where I think partially where he kind of got the gotcha moments from the other side.
Lost, yeah.
That's those couple moments.
Right.
Yeah, he got lost because he didn't have the thing to kind of connect it all. You know what I mean? Point being, though, is that he actually did the righteous thing and went there to understand atheists, and he got completely destroyed afterwards by the people that should have supported him.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, he did exactly what you said. He let his pride and ego go, and sometimes you're gonna look naive or stupid when you do that.
What struck me at one point at least was he looked like, and again, I only saw the clip, little tiny snippet. He looked like he did have like a pride or ego thing, or at least he had a rule that I don't think is necessary. A rule of if you personally attack me, he said something like something to this effect. If you personally attack me, I won't engage you, or something like that. Didn't he say something in one of those viral moments? And
yeah,
then,
he was.
What was it? What was it that he said? And then he said, "You're done," or something like that.
Well, he said, and earmuffs, kids. He said, "Don't be a smart ass."
Right.
And then he was like, "I won't engage with you if you are." Now, the reason was because, and I kind of get it, but it just doesn't work for the online debate forum.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna look like you're trying to control speech or whatever. But in reality, the kid that he was saying that to wasn't engaging in the points. He wasn't engaging in even the conversation. He was just there to get the you're nothing point and then walk off. And Peterson was just like, I'm not having that. I'm here to have an actual discussion. Like you're just trying to do your college kid routine. I'm tired of it. And I'm with him on that. It's boring to me.
Nice. Interesting, man. I'll have to check that out in full or maybe catch your review of it. That's nice.
It's
Shout
very
out.
interesting because it also proves that even somebody who's not a Christian but can argue based on Christian values will still destroy atheists with ease.
And those are like, were those like Berkeley kids or something?
There was some, I don't know.
I thought that they were from some school in particular, some hoity-toity school.
More than
Anyway.
likely.
We're more than half past the first hour here, and I'd like to get to some calls and get to your super chats, guys. Crishaun the
let's do it.
Don of the Misfit Nation talking about racism, whites. Who's the biggest attack on? Trump. We'll get to Trump, maybe. I want to get to first Travis, a first-time caller in Texas. Travis, you're on the line with Crishaun the Don
This call
and
will be
Hake.
recorded.
Oh,
Hey,
Lord.
what's up?
Hey, Travis.
Hey, Travis.
Hey. So, Hake, I think the other week or so you were saying that you saw Sinners.
No, I never saw it. Somebody asked me about it, though. Somebody asked us about it. Sinners is this movie. I don't know if you've seen it, Crishaun, or heard about it.
Is it Mark Wahlberg, I think?
I don't think so.
Michael B. Jordan, and like they're in like the 30s and they're killing vampires. But
I'm thinking of something else.
I don't know. It was like super like the main thing in the preview is he's like shooting a machine gun in slow motion. So it's like, all right, that was cool. But it turns out he's like killing a bunch of like racist white people at the very end. It was I don't know. I thought you saw it, Hake, but
So it's a black movie.
had
It's a blaxploitation
yeah, it was
movie.
kind of like black
Yeah.
people are cool, white people are weird type vibe to it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest,
But,
you lost me as soon as you said vampires. I hate like
Yeah.
fantasy entertainment, so
It wasn't a serious vampire
Sounds
movie at
gay.
all. It just seemed like a whole whites are bad agenda thing.
Travis,
But-
are you recording the call? What was that?
I didn't mean. Oh, hold on. Let me.
This call is no longer being recorded.
Okay, my bad. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
was
done
wondering
that
what
before.
that woman thing. I
Yeah.
almost hung up on you because I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm getting
sorry
an
about
answering
that.
machine. No worries.
are you
That
from
was
Yeah,
Palantir?
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I thought you saw that, Hake, but yeah.
What were you going to say about it? Because people
basically
do
that.
know a little bit
Well,
about it.
Yeah, what about
Yeah,
it?
that was the thing. Well, like basically that. I didn't see anyone else saying that like it just had like seemed like a BLM agenda. Like
Yeah.
all the white people were like the bad guys or the vampires, but if you didn't see it, you know. But no one else said anything, so I was just a little curious.
There were some liberal blacks who told me to watch it, and there's some
Sure, they
characters
probably
that
loved it.
I remind them of or something like that.
Yeah,
So
they
you can
probably
imagine.
they portray all the white people as just like goofy, weird, bad people.
Right. Were they the vampires? Were we the
Yeah,
vampires?
they started out as the vampires, and then the black people are all having a good time, and then the white vampires, like literally 3 white vampires, go up and just mess everything up. And but yeah,
I think the reason why nobody's talking about it is because nobody actually cares. No offense to you, but nobody actually like cares about the whole Hollywood. Like it's already well known that they're hiding agendas, not even hiding them anymore, but throwing agendas, liberal agendas in their movies and stuff like, and it's
Yeah.
lost them so much money that I think it's proven that people just are not entertained by it. People don't care about it anymore.
There was
Yeah,
a little
you know
bit
what?
of there was a little bit of excitement though. A few weeks ago, I want to say, there were people in the chat, people on the phone talking
For
about
Sinners?
it. Yeah,
Really? All right. I didn't
yeah.
hear about that.
yeah, but nothing. I don't know. I was hoping Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro would pick up on it.
Whatever.
I
But I
was
guess it's
I was
just me.
caught up in the Final Destination hype.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
still a sucker for those movies.
Nice. Dang. Morbid.
yeah. That was about it. And I was gonna say, hey, man, you're the man, fan of your show. And last week or so, you said that Manny Pacquiao came back into fight when he's 40, but he's 46, so it is the fake news. No, I'm playing.
Wow. Good for him.
but yeah,
It's good to hear
Yeah,
from you,
that's about
Travis.
it,
I
man.
appreciate it. I was
Yeah.
curious to hear people's opinion on it, so I'm glad to hear your take on that
Yeah.
movie because I may or may not
Sure.
ever catch it. I probably won't pay money to see it. I don't think. I have seen some
Yeah,
of those
don't.
black movies. I never saw Django. I never saw
Oh.
12 Years a Slave. I never saw Get
Womp
Out.
womp.
Joel actually liked Get Out, but he was too innocent. Like he didn't pick up on the racial undertones. Maybe I don't
Actually, Hake, I have to defend Django.
know.
It's
Okay.
not. I don't think it's a woke movie. I
Okay.
don't think it's a woke black movie. I think it's actually one of the. To me, it's the last slave movie I ever have to watch because I think it's the realest depiction of slavery. He actually has black slavers in it.
Right. Nice.
Like Tarantino actually did show like I think a more realistic depiction of slavery in America.
His
So I
dad's
think you should watch it.
his dad's a Trump supporter. Did you know?
Ah.
He's not.
Well, Tarantino also grew up in like black neighborhoods.
Oh, so he
was-
knows what they're like.
Yeah. And then his mother, she was a single mother, and supposedly she liked dating black guys. So he would,
Oh man,
he would get like
I can't
Yeah,
deal.
Django Unchained was the cool one.
I have a
I-
I have a judgment against Samuel L. Jackson because he's just so, what is it, anti-white? There's something about him that I'm just. He's actually an okay actor or whatever. Like there's nothing wrong with him in his acting, but there's something that he did or said that just turned me off to him in the other, in the public life or something like that. I don't know. But
Didn't
yeah,
he
I can get
go
get
after
over
Trump or something.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
all
don't
those
know.
all those black actors, most of them are just a mess. Some way worse than others. Shout out. But
He
Yeah.
does play the greatest house N-word in that in Django. You gotta
Right.
watch it, Hake. You'd love it. I'm telling you.
all right.
Yeah, Django's a cool movie. I was wondering though, like, I wonder if I watch Django like again now, like maybe my bias has changed to where I would look at it like, like a woke thing, just because you know what I mean,
Yeah.
seeing stuff differently. But I like Django when I watched it. It was fun. It's funny.
Nice.
Good movie.
You could probably
But
pick
all
it
right.
apart and find some wokeness, but I think there's enough of
Right.
like a balance where it's like there's white people saying the N-word like crazy on it. It's like too much to where you go, I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah,
whatever.
Jonah Hill's pretty funny in it.
Whoa, I didn't know he's in it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you.
DiCaprio is amazing in it.
Yeah.
Plays
Yeah,
the
thank you,
greatest
Hake. I'll let you
white
go.
supremacist ever.
Appreciate it, Travis. Thanks, man.
All right, Travis.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. Pretty cool. We got the pop culture in there. Let's talk with a white man, Robert in Kansas. He was a priority caller from yesterday, actually. What's up, Robert? Thank you for calling and holding. You're live with Crishaun.
Hey, brother, can you hear me? I just got a downpour on me.
I can hear you. You do sound like you're in the patio underneath a downpour.
No, man, I'm in my truck, bro. It's coming down. But all right, so what was I gonna say? Dang it. Damn, man. I
Men
had
and
something funny to
whites.
say.
Men and whites under attack.
No, yeah, I'm gonna get to that. Let's see. The word racist or racism. What's important, gentlemen, Crishaun, I'm glad you're on Hake again. I appreciate you coming on and contributing, brother.
Thank you, sir.
The word racist, it's important, Hake, if you want to be smart, right? Like, you know how I'm like twice your IQ.
Yeah.
If you want to be smart, brother, you got to learn what words mean. Okay, if you learn what words mean, you're gonna go farther than almost anything else that can take you. So when you learn what racist means initially, then you know what it means. So you don't know what it means today. Today you think it's something else, but if you look up an 1820s dictionary and you look up the word racist, you'll find out what a racist really is. So I hope we're all racist. Right? That's only the right thing to do.
Now, Robert, do you agree with like my definition of racism?
Well, I don't know that, sir, and I don't know. I mean,
I don't know if
I
you
agree
listen.
that I'm glad you're on the show, brother.
Well, my definition of racism is that you're just you're an expert in race, more or less.
Expert in race. Well, that's a good place to start. That's an interesting question, right? Like, how do we explain race? When I went to college, I got stuck in a science building with a couple of associate professors and one real professor, and they asked me about evolution. and they started to tell me how the black man is an underdeveloped entity compared to the white man. And I told them, I don't believe in evolution. Is this your explanation for race? And they said, yes. And I said, well, I think we were created by God. And you should have seen them, man. You should have seen their eyes when I said that. I said, no, we're created by God. There is no evolution. That's your explanation for race. And, man, they took me. Dude, I didn't know. I was a much younger man, right? I'm like 40. I'm like Hake's age now, right? They took me, dude, into, like, the back room, and were, like, showing me these depictions of all this stuff. And they were like, dude, you're telling me we were created by God. How do you explain race? Well, that sent me on a path, right? So, like, when you guys want to understand why is this being attacked, whether it's a man or the white or the straight, right? So, like, if you're a man...
Get to the point, Robert. I have to wrap up soon.
You got to wrap up?
Yes.
By the way, good addition to the descriptor, though. Straight. That is important.
Well, no, straight, yeah. Like, you could be, let's say you are a black man, but you are straight. They want you to be gay. So, and then, like, if you're a woman, you're a black woman, they want you to be a lesbian, right? So no matter what plane you're on, you could be a white man. If you're straight, they like you more than if you're, or they like you less than if you're gay, you see.
Robert.
So
get to your point.
The point is that the evil of this world attacks the image of God. The image of God is what is being attacked. It's white, it's straight, it's male. You can go on down the line. You can see it. You can see it happening. We have fallen angels attacking creation. And they want to pretend that inferiors are equal to superiors, such that to destroy creation. To say that a woman is equal to a man, right? We've seen what that has done. That the first divide in nature, or God's creation, is woman and man. So they favor the woman over the man. Then you see the other divides in race. They favor the lesser races over the better races. Then they favor a man who is moral and straight, who is a natural design of a man who likes women to procreate with. They favor the homosexual over the straight man. You can go on down the line, doesn't matter how far you go. They love transgenders because then you're really destroying the image of God.
I got you, Robert. I got you, man.
Yeah, you're cutting off body parts.
Take care, Robert. I appreciate your call. Thanks, man. Interesting.
I agreed with most of what he was saying, but it's just like those kind of calls are just like so much information you can't even respond.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to communicate with him, but he's raising partially valid points. And in a sense, okay, what part did you disagree with?
I mean, he kind of agreed that like we're all created by God, but then when he was explaining the
Image
all
of
the
God.
things that they're really attacking, he threw whiteness in there,
Right?
And I'm like, no, dude, you just kind of negated your point before. Like,
Yeah.
so I agree with everything else he was saying. Straight, conservative, Christian, masculine, male.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they're going after.
And whites tend per capita to be more for those things and more those things. And that's probably a big part of why the whites are under attack, because they're in the way of it.
Yes, it was easy to, and all the people he was explaining, the trans, blacks, all that, all those identities were easy to like they coddled the minorities because it's easy to like galvanize them into doing stuff or being politically active or
They
whatever.
don't. Yeah, they have more free time. They're troublemakers. They're able to be
But it-
squeaky wheels. You
But it's
know.
very simple.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, really simple. If you had a protest, you needed people to come out to protest. Would you go after young males who have fathers and family structures, or would you go after like what would be easier? A kid that comes from a single mother household who has nothing going on. That would be your easy target.
Targeting the angry victims. JLP used to be a union type of a guy, recruiter or something like that, organized. I don't know what. But he learned in the unions to go after the angry employees first and try to get them to agree to start a union. And then they could kind of convince the other employees, oh, yeah, let's start a union.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a former communist caller, once a communist, always a communist, who told me about the youth, how they exploit and manipulate the youth, college kids, and just victims in general. But youth, you don't necessarily always think of as victims, but they're angry, prideful, don't know much, but they know a little bit. They know enough to think that they know. And they have always been like communist youth movements have been kind of communist. And they've been for, getting rid of the Second Amendment. Remember March for Our Lives after the high school at that liberal town. Is it true that liberal towns always are the ones that get the mass shootings? Or is that just my prejudice?
I don't know. I kind of hope so, but I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Well, Florida, we had one, the Parkland one.
Yeah, is that a liberal area?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it, but it's a more up class kind of area.
Right, but up class
Those tend to be more
higher class. I don't know because
I don't know. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, there's like a lot of
Maybe
like Jewish liberals who are pretty well to do tend to be more liberal, I think. There's like Hollywood liberals who are well to do. It kind of depends on how you got your wealth, whether you're conservative or liberal.
You're right. There is also in Florida, it's almost like the red areas are more the,
normal
the
people.
woodsy kind of country areas. And then the big cities are where you get the blue turnout.
That brings me to my question about that I started off with at the very beginning of the show. I mentioned, and then I'll get to the super chats and the rest of your callers. Thank you, Robert. I had to cut you off there, but I appreciate you. Over in Hake News, at one of the hours of the Jesse Lee Peterson show, I read about this Supreme Court passed on or refrained from taking up a case of let me turn that part off. In Maryland, this anti-gun law said you can't get certain types of ARs or certain types of semi-automatic weapons.
I think they put it as assault rifles.
Yeah. But
which is a kind of a made-up term.
Right, exactly. Supreme Court declined to hear 2 Second Amendment challenges. Oh, what am I doing? Pardon me, guys. I'm such a boomer. Sorry. I didn't mean to disappear us when I went over to the news. The Supreme Court declined to hear 2 Second Amendment challenges, which is not really accurate how they're saying it. It means both laws will remain in place. One of the appeals dealt with Maryland's law banning certain semi-automatic weapons, AR and AK-style rifles. The law enacted after the deadly 2012 mass shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut. So it happened in Connecticut, a liberal town, I bet. Newtown, Connecticut. I don't know. The young man his mother was kind of pro-Second Amendment, but she was a divorcee or whatever. She divorced her husband. Adam Lanza hadn't seen his father in a couple of years, as I recall, which is kind of how that, the mother's anger. So that was an emotional exploitation. Oh, quick, let's use this excitement to make a law in Maryland. Now, Maryland has Baltimore, which is black, but it's such a small population. I don't know if the blacks are the reason that Maryland is so liberal. And then the Supreme Court also declined to hear a challenge in Rhode Island's ban on high-capacity gun magazines. High capacity. I don't know what that means. What, more than 10? What, 15? Is that high capacity? 30?
Yeah, what does that matter?
In conservative justices, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, Clarence Thomas. I don't necessarily think of Neil Gorsuch as particularly conservative, but I guess he's better than Kavanaugh or Amy Barrett in this case, dissented from the court's decision not to hear the case. So do you know anything about New England? Rhode Island, Maryland, Vermont?
Honestly, I don't. I was born in New York, so that's a whole different thing.
True.
But yeah, I the most I know about Maryland is that really the black area is Baltimore.
Right.
I don't know if that's the only black area, but yeah, I don't know, because I tend to find that a lot of black people are in favor of gun control.
Right.
Because they think it's gonna help help anything. I think they just don't think it out.
Yeah.
They just think, oh, let's just get rid of it. It's easy.
That's how cops sometimes fall for that, or at least because they don't want to have to deal with these squirrely armed criminals, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes the cops
lazy.
or whatever. Yeah. I don't blame them. I understand it, but it's not right.
Yeah, I think a lot of those like upper class areas become liberal because it's a comfort thing.
Yeah.
Like really being a liberal, like you're afforded that by the comforts that America provides you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like sovereign citizens. That's why that's an American like thing is because of the Constitution. Like you can only have that if the Constitution existed. But yeah, honestly, I don't know why they're. If I were to just wager a guess, I don't know too much about this. Sorry, but
no, you're fine.
I would just guess maybe they're thinking that it's like a state thing. Now I know states have a Supreme Court as well, right?
Yeah, state Supreme Courts. Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know if it didn't go to the state Supreme Court. I guess maybe does it have to before it goes to federal?
That I don't know. This went to the somehow or another this went to the federal Supreme Court. You know, because the federal that's crazy, man.
If I were just to think it out, maybe that's the thinking of it, is there was a debate on whether or not they were even supposed to oversee that.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm just this is all conjecture.
Yeah, totally don't know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. And I know sometimes that happens. Well, they'll push it like and the Supreme Court will go, well, there has to be like you have to go through X, Y, and Z first.
Yeah,
so
but
we can't.
None of the good justices were for this for ignoring this law. I mean, letting the law stand. They wanted to hear it out. Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch in this case. Usually Thomas and Alito are the only ones who are right.
I guess the way I'm looking at it is I don't want to necessarily say like this means this Supreme Court person or Supreme Court judge believes this because they ruled
right
on this case. I don't know. It could just be that they just didn't feel like it was their jurisdiction. Maybe they're, for them to preside over federally to preside over a state's gun laws, that might be something you can't do. I don't know. Could not. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I just want to know what's wrong with the people that they would pass these laws and elect guys like Bernie Sanders in Vermont and stuff like that. What's wrong with New England? It's like horrible. At least, I don't know if this is all New England, but it's that northeast area, that east, northeast. I guess Maryland is sort of the south, supposedly, but it's back east somewhere. And I think they're ridiculous, in my opinion.
You'd think they'd, because they have a lot of wilderness over there, right? You think they'd want their guns?
Yeah, but they don't know what's good for them.
It's that liberal comfort. You live in a bubble. You live in a fake world.
Yeah, so true, man.
Yeah.
Let's get to a few super chats. Evil is still real. Nice to see the Dawn on again. That's right. Evil is still real. Sometimes calls the Misfit Nation. Calls into the Misfit Nation.
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't heard from him in a while though.
Evil is still real. Well, he'll probably join your Rumble channel and follow your user account and follow your Rumble channel, the Misfit Nation, right?
Yes. Also, when we got striked from YouTube, our main channel, I think we lost a lot of people in that
Oh,
in that
true.
translation.
Yeah,
So
indeed.
Evil could be one of them. Come back.
Him and Bump are the only good guests, he says on the Hake Report. Thank you, man. That's cool.
Ooh.
Well, shout out. I
Shout outs
kind of
to
like.
Bump.
I like Omar. The heck. I like. Anyway, says our 3 coffees. Another sup, Hake. Another busy work day for me, man. I miss my daily routine. Crying emoji. Well, good for you, man. Working. That's cool. And Tyrant, that was over on buymeacoffee.com/the Hake Report, which is cool because buy me a coffee. I don't even have to be on air, and you can buy me a super chat. Tyrant sore is wrecked. La la la. The Hake Report. Yeah, I started up on pilled.net. Nice. Thank you, guys. Very kind. Let's get back to some calls. Oh, no. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up about Trump? Crishaun.
Honestly, I didn't have anything specific. I don't know
Nice.
if maybe you. Yeah.
No worries. I don't really either. At least not at this time.
I'm sure a caller will bring something up.
Yeah. Jeff in Louisiana on the line here. Jeff, how you doing? Thank you for calling. You're live with Crishaun the Don.
Good, man. Crishaun is right. I'll bring something about Trump. He canceled Pride Month.
Trump did?
Oh yes, we did talk about that.
That's right. That's partly why I got to him here. So what? Trump, is it true? Trump wouldn't do that. He loves the gays.
He changed it to Title IX month to honor women in sports.
To honor women in the force? Oh, no.
Well, no, you know, the Title IX's how what's the name got into swimming and the cramp and all that stuff. Is, what's the name, Leah Thomas?
Yeah.
The swimmer, I think.
Yeah, the swimmer, real name William. Well, dead name William.
I disavow all that stuff. Is because of Title IX, but Trump says doing away with Pride Month, he'll make it Title IX month.
Is what? I didn't hear that.
He'll make it Title IX month instead. I don't like Title IX. I think we should get rid of that whole thing. But
I don't either.
But it's better than it's not. It's less worse, I guess. It's a.
But Trump has made a lot of progress in that. He's not really made no rulings on it, but he's come out and said, you know, he passed the laws. He said, no, man can compete in women's sports.
Right.
He's come out and said that, and there's been several colleges that have done away with it because of him. So, you know, you got more credit.
A big part of Pride Month being canceled is that pretty much every major corporation in America didn't do a Pride campaign.
Yeah, that's what they're pulling back on. Big brands are pulling back on Pride merchandise and events this year, according to CNN itself. Commie Nonsense, the hugest promoters of the gay agenda that I can think of. I mean, other than the other mainstream.
Yeah, that's the main thing I've seen too. And you gotta look at that crap last year. It's having grown men wearing dancing on stripper poles with diapers on.
Oh yeah, no, don't even bring it up. But you're right, it's terrible. People are sick of it. They're too in your face. We're having gay fatigue. We have shout out
gay fatigue.
You know how that's
black becoming
fatigue.
Blacks are trying to push white fatigue as a thing.
They're sick of the whites.
Yeah.
Everybody's sick of each other. How about he who endures to the end shall be saved? Never tire in doing good.
But
doesn't
that feel so like childish though? Like,
yeah.
You have black fatigue? Oh yeah, well we have white fatigue.
Right. They've been saying, "Oh, I'm so tired of all this racism."
You know what's new?
Yeah.
Hey, though, if you look on YouTube, the majority of people have black fatigue are black people.
Right. They agree with it.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Yeah, they are sick of. They're sick of.
You know, what gets them is the ones that have it are the ones that go out and work every day and do their best to make a living and be good members of the community. They get tired of being alone. The ones that just want to complain racism and all this crap.
Yeah.
But see, this is where I think the cowardice is kind of is gonna bite us later, is because in reality, I think it's not even black fatigue. I think it would be more accurate to say N fatigue. N-word fatigue. You get what I'm saying? Because
Yeah, I know.
that's when you talk to black people who do have black fatigue, that's who they're actually talking about, is the
Yeah,
N-words.
yeah,
They're not
I know
talking
what you're
about.
talking about.
Yeah,
Man, you
yeah.
know, there's one thing kind of funny I want to bring up. You know, y'all was talking about this earlier, and you know, there's an episode of Family Guy when the world's going to end, and Peterson's like, "What is the one thing I've always wanted to do?" He goes in the middle of the black community and yells N-word. He comes back and he has a hat on, a robe, and then, you know, a stick and everything is, and says, "King of Black People." He said, "They respected me."
Nice.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious.
Because you were right, or we're afraid to say anything. We're afraid to do anything.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid of the word racism.
True.
I have a question though.
It's just a word.
Hake, you brought up the thing about the study that was done a few years back where it was that white people, it was proven that white people don't think or look at their worldview based on their race as much as black people. I forget what the exact wording of it was.
I don't remember a study, but I've noticed that, definitely. I mean, everybody knows that, right?
Yeah, there was a study that was like, do you connect your race to your politics or something like that? And white people said that they don't, way less than black people do.
Right.
Now, you'd agree that that's actually probably grown. If they were to do that study now, there would probably be more white people saying that they do.
Right. Yeah, because
connect their race to.
Yeah, when you feel under attack, you end up identifying more. When you're called something enough, you're gonna become that kind of
right.
And you feel something about it. Yeah.
But my question is, because it goes into that thing of like, the world's gonna end. I'm gonna do this one thing that I always wanted to do. You go to the hood and yell the N-word. It's almost like that mentality of like, was it that white people really did connect their race to their politics way more than they were telling us? Like, so when they did that study, the people that they were studying were just saying no because they were afraid to look racist?
I think.
Or did the change happen within the last few years? I could accept both. I'm just
me too, because there is something that there's like mental blocks that we have from our brainwashing. I'm speaking in terms of we, but there have been things that Jesse has said, for example, that were like shocking to me, but they are true. But I didn't really let myself think that way or whatever. Like, it didn't occur to me to think that way or to realize. And somebody speaking with that much freedom of speech and that much the truth as he sees it, whites don't let themselves think in terms of that. Not just outwardly, but inwardly. Sometimes it doesn't even occur to us, at least in this heavily brainwashed generations on time. So I think that it's true that a lot of whites really do not think in terms of the race thing at all. They may have in the back of their mind in their heads about blacks and racism and looking racist and stuff. Because I've told that story where I didn't grow up really around blacks, but in high school, I went to some event in Pasadena, and I saw some blacks. I'm like, let me not look racist in my head. But I didn't think anything about them. I just didn't know. But I was trained and brainwashed in school about this racism past. And so it put me in my head about it. But I think that it's sincere, whether it's right or wrong, that they think it wrong to think in terms of race at all. I don't think it's wrong to think in terms of race at all anymore, because we're living in a practical time. Yeah, go ahead.
If you're saying more people, white people thought more on like that, like black people, we'd have more people that would be Trump supporters. Because if you go back and look, Trump hasn't done anything really racist.
True.
He's helped a lot of black people.
Right.
Black people loved him up until he got elected. the problem is you have white people that are so concerned about it because that's where all these freaking liberals at and progressives. They're so worried about things to do with a chick with a wing or a black person. They don't say nothing.
Say that last part one more time.
I said they're so far about offending a chick with a, I ain't gonna say it on the show, but you know what I'm talking about. A transgender or a black person or a colored person or a Mexican or this or that. They don't say nothing. They just sit there and clutch their thoughts in their head. They don't say nothing. They just, they don't point out no wrongs.
Yeah.
Everything a transgender does is right. Everything a black person does is right. The only people that do anything wrong are white people. And they trained our white people to think that way.
Yeah. They really have brainwashed. They've done a number not just on the blacks, because the blacks' thinking is off, but the white thinking is off too. If that's what you're saying.
Well, yeah, they reverse the roles, really. I mean,
yeah,
it should be equal, but say back in 1850, just go back to 1850 and swap the white mentality for black mentality. And today, I mean, it's totally different. Just 100 years, 50 years, it's changed the way we look. Each race we got the race of the blacks back in the early 1800s, and they got the view what we had in the early 1900s.
Yeah. So, like, the whites were in... If I'm getting you, I'm slightly distracted because I lost connection with Crishaun the Don over here. But if you're saying that the whites are now in, like, a subservient mindset, whereas the blacks used to be in the subservient mindset, that's so true.
Exactly.
Yep. And it should be, and it shouldn't be that we shouldn't be seeing ourselves or each other that way at all.
And it's only the Democratic Party doing it because the Republican Party is not telling us to go out and, well, if you go to the store tomorrow, you got me a black guy.
Right.
But if a Democrat says you go to Walmart and ain't nothing there, why do white people coming in there and shopping there? That's y'all's store.
Right.
It's in a black community. It's a black neighborhood. Y'all's store.
Yeah.
So it's just that they're trying to destroy the country.
Yeah, they really are.
They're trying to pile up most money if they can in their bank accounts. So when they destroy the country, they can flee and go somewhere else, and there won't be no laws to catch them then because they had just destroyed the country.
Crishaun asked me about whether whites used to not identify with whiteness in terms of informing their politics at all, or much less, and now they may do so more. I think they should do so a little bit more. Not that they identify with it, but that they see the practical reality and separate where need be and discriminate in a righteous, racist, quote unquote, to use Crishaun's term, way, based on the present reality of the crime and all that mess and the suspicion and all that. I think we totally should.
If you watch old TV shows, you watch back in 40, 50 years ago, you watch TV shows and movies and stuff, it's kind of like mindset was back then. It needs to be that way again. Where people had their politics, they fought their politics, they didn't discuss their politics.
Right. And it wasn't I don't think that it was so divided in terms of the existence of the country. Like
it wasn't because everyone wasn't sharing their opinion.
Yeah, true.
It's a freaking clique group now.
Yeah.
You want to be included in a group.
I know you may disagree with me, but that's partly why I don't think that women should be so involved in the politics stuff, because they're more easily deceived. They're more easily stressed out about something that isn't even really important. And people are fighting over something that's not even really important to them if they stop and think about it. It's not just women, of course, but their involvement has been so divisive and destructive, I say.
Well, I mean, you're talking about voting. You're talking about voting here. I mean, but the main problem is we have these freaking ones getting in there and running for. Look when Hurricane Katrina hit. We had Kathleen Blanco as governor down here.
Oh man, I wasn't aware of that.
She got off the plane crying out there when that hurricane hit.
Whoa,
she couldn't answer a question.
That's
she
crazy.
Food, crying, complained, couldn't answer a question. There's nothing going on in the state. Just crying. I mean, just now we get Kamala Harris on for president and Hillary Clinton. I mean, and both of them on just a little power trip. You could tell that when they was running, they was just on a power trip. But Hillary was just on a power trip about, I don't know, she just wanted to be the man, and Kamala just want to be the first person to beat Trump.
Yeah.
Besides,
that's crazy, man. Interesting.
But anyway, man, I know change their calls in, man.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Hang on.
Have a good one.
Yeah, take care. Okay, guys, I need to step away for 1 second to let Crishaun the Don back in, so I'm going to play a little, maybe song or something over here while I let him back in. DJ Hardmaus, the Hake report thing. Yeah, can you let Crishaun back in? In the Terrible. Oh. Nice. And we're back. Crishaun the Don of the Misfit Nation, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So sorry about that. My little baby niece unplugged my internet.
Nice.
Do the darndest things.
That is so funny.
Hopefully we're all good now, though.
I think we are.
Yeah.
Wow, what a mess.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Really apologize.
No worries.
Unprofessional.
I'm glad you're back. I don't know if you heard Jeff and I talking, but I made the point that you know how you advocate for racism, racial profiling, so-called?
Yes. Yes.
And the whites should not. It's not that the whites should identify spiritually with their race, but they should identify that there are practical problems with this diversity stuff, and we need to racially profile and discriminate and be sensible segregation, just and a little bit more ham-fisted than some people might be comfortable with. When I say ham-fisted, I mean like pretty strict segregation sometimes, maybe. I'm like open to that. I'm open to people having the freedom of association. In Orania, South Africa, for example, they have like this hard, fast rule of, we are a minority and we get to have our enclave. And so they don't let any non-minority whites, Boers or whatever they are, live in this enclave called Orania in South Africa. And it works. It's probably there's some decent blacks who would be fine neighbors, but rules is rules. And it's not a judgment against those blacks. It's just a practical solution to a practical problem. What do you think of that?
I'm not so sure it is practical. I mean, I'm in favor, like, for people, freedom of association.
Yeah.
I'm not a forced integration
Right.
guy. However, I don't want the government telling me who I can and can't hang out with.
What
You
if
get
it's
what I mean?
What if it's just the local government and not the feds? The feds can't.
I don't care
enforce
what
it.
government it is.
Oh, dang. What about
Yeah.
the city government?
I don't care if it's a city council member.
So the neighbors association can't discriminate against you?
I think homeowners associations are as communist as it gets. I think we need to get rid of all of them.
Kick out the women, especially. Terrible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of the government telling me who I could associate with. So
Yeah.
I think when we give them, I think that's the whole the principle of it is, don't tell me who I can hang out with and who I can't.
Yeah.
I'll
What
make
about
that
if it's
decision
in
for
their
myself.
city? If the city decides this is how we want to run our city, our town, because part of the problem is we've gone to more and more centralized and far away government that we have no say-so over, no control over. Because you and I really can't affect the feds. They affect us, but we can't affect them. But we have more, we can at least face our city council member or our evil communist homeowners association member. And so I think local control, individual control is best. I'm with you. But local control is better than state or city or county or federal control. Not in that order.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. I'm with that.
Nice.
Again, though, I just don't know about segregation.
Right.
Well, the funny thing is a lot of people I noticed will say they're in favor of segregation. However, they'll get mad when black people are like, we want our own graduation. You know what I mean?
I'm not mad about
like,
that. Please,
that's what I'm saying.
Please,
but that's what I don't understand is, like,
Right.
why are you mad at that if you're in favor of segregation? You should.
I think they're
and
mad because there's a double standard that they get to have their segregation, but we don't get ours. Maybe.
Right. But here's the thing too: is then because what will happen
the
if
hypocrisy
whites
of
say
them.
that whites probably wouldn't be allowed to.
Right.
But if you were, the problem is that the reason why you're not allowed to is because there's a threat that black people will show up and cause violence. You know?
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
that's true. Antifa and all them. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that's why the government and the government is in
Anti-white.
favor
Yeah.
of of that whole thing. Yeah. So
Double standard.
don't get me wrong, I know that exists.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's like if you do have a problem with that, then why not just show up to the graduation?
How about
what are they gonna do?
Oh no thanks. I'm staying away from the black graduation.
Exactly.
How about the right to discriminate, like a business or whatever, basic right to discriminate?
I'm all in favor of that.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah, run your business how you want.
Indeed. All right.
Pay them how you want. I don't care about any of that. Like, that's not my business.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's get to William number 7 over in California. Been on hold. Wanted to talk back about the Jordan B. Peterson debate, I think. What's up, William number 7? You're live with Crishaun the Don of the Misfit Nation and Hake.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
So far,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Oh, excellent. I've been on hold a while, and I've been driving, so I'm pulling over.
Cool.
They watch me.
Thank you,
My
man.
My van is chipped.
Nice.
How you doing, Deshaun?
Crishaun.
Crishaun, sorry.
No
Hey,
worries.
Billiam.
Hey.
I'm kidding.
So it was very interesting. So I've been listening to y'all talk. So when I first tuned in, you guys were talking about Jordan B. Peterson.
Yeah.
But you piqued my interest about the HOA, the Homeowners Association.
Yeah.
And although I've never owned a home, from what I understand, the beginning of an HOA was to keep people from turning their neighborhoods into slums where, weeds and cars that don't work, maybe riffraff. And from what I understand, usually you got to be pretty wealthy, as in usually like 6-digit figures usually. And so, but then I've heard, then you hear these stories that, well, I can't have my American flag because the HOA said so.
Yeah.
But what if that's a lie? Like if I was earning six figures and I purchased my home and I maybe agreed to pay, I don't know if it's dues for an HOA, and they told me I can't do something or paint something, when would the HOA become, like, to me, it would seem like you want to keep your neighborhood beautiful and looking good, but I don't want to be a jerk. I don't want to be like, all the doors have to be the same color and all that. The roofs have to be the same. To me, that's crossing a line. They want us to all be the same. And to me, that's just kind of weird. Like, does that make sense?
It sort of does, but I actually kind of like those rules a little bit. They may go too far at times, but I like when they don't let, for example, a person paint their house some wild color. Because, Mexicans are notorious for painting their houses like a bright purple or a bright orange or something like that. And
you are correct. I've seen it.
yeah. And so
It's the color of royalty where they come from.
And so the neighborhood doesn't allow that,
But even that is, but if your place looks nice, like I just pulled up right in front of a house right now as I'm pulling. There's cat o' nine tails. It is a mess.
Yeah.
And yet I don't think they'd be allowed to do that. To keep your lawn cut.
Right.
Even if it's just weeds, keep it cut.
Yes.
I don't think that's. I think that's just.
Some people are control freaks, and I was watching this old clip of JLP in 2018 talking about Kanye West and how Kanye was like pro-Trump at that point and loved Trump and went to the Oval Office, and then there's people who wanted to control him and put him in a crazy house just because he's supported what's right and he was a little crazy about it, but or supported who he wanted to support. People are controlling. People want to control, or there's people who want to be free. And unfortunately, the people who want to control are attracted to government positions like HOAs. I shake my head.
So my contention is I think it's something that can naturally happen to all people. We can all fall victim and not even realize it.
Yeah.
But
one of the things oh, go ahead, Deshaun.
I'm sorry, William. I was just going to say, aren't you kind of falling for the whole thing of like, well, if one person can't keep their house clean and orderly, then none of us get to choose how we keep our house.
Terrible,
I don't think.
No,
I mean,
not like gun control. Saying that.
Gun control.
I am not saying
that. That has
I just
house.
used an example because I just pulled up randomly in front of this house, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the story is. This person could be disabled, could be a widow. No one's coming by. Maybe a young kid could come by and do it. Do 10 minutes and make it look nice. There's many reasons. We need to get to the bottom of it. But when a big government agency, any kind of agency, whether it's corporate, government, religious, they become overbearing. Just kind of like in the Bible describes how even when God had Israel judged, they still overstepped their bounds. Totally. They still go further than what God asked them to do. And I think we can all do that, even in our own relationships with the people we love, the closest. We don't even realize we get in our head about stuff. You guys are kind of correct about that. So anyway, this, and then there's the Pareto distribution that Jordan B. Peterson talks about, and I guess we could segue into that. So Deshaun, I watched that whole debate, and because I drive for a living, and so it was cool to listen to. Mm-hmm. But I do think a lot of it was edited because I saw Jordan Peterson at many times very genuinely pleased to meet some of those young people. I mean, unless he's a great actor, but he seemed genuinely pleased when they would sit down and he'd shake hands. But then when that one kid said, "You're nothing," like I said, I don't know if that was planned or scripted, and Jordan bowed out, and I thought he did it awesomely. But I do think the two things that stuck out was that they didn't realize when they reject God, they don't even know what they're rejecting. And then Jordan Peterson says, belief is what you stake your life on. And I've thought about that for a number of days since watching it. And I think that's true. You believe, what you believe is not what you say, it's what you do, which is what you stake your life on.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, there was that.
Well, I mean, I don't know
to
what you think about that, Deshaun. Deshaun, did you watch and listen to the whole
he did.
thing?
Yes.
Yeah. I found myself getting angry at those punks. Because Jordan B. Peterson's been through a lot. He's experienced a lot. I think he's honest, kind of like Hake is. And that one caller thinks Hake is so honest, it's maybe a fault. And so Jordan B. Peterson, I think, is like that, because I see him thinking in the moment. I don't think he's fake. I think he's really, really trying with the information he gets on a moment-by-moment basis. And to me, that's integrity.
What were you about to say, Crishaun?
Well, I also feel like his honesty about his faith is like something to be sort of respected, in that he's not trying to be a fake Christian either.
Yeah.
He's like telling you, this is what I
think
honestly
he's better
believe.
than most pastors.
Yeah, seriously. But one thing too, in that whole debate, if you pay attention, there's a lot of like you said, editing trickery going on, because I started noticing the clock. They have a clock right on the table.
Yes, you can
The
tell.
clock
Yes.
was going from like 20 minutes. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Jordan Peterson. Right to a jump cut, and the clock is like 5 minutes something. So they literally were cutting out 15-minute segments of the entire debate, and it would get to right to the contentious part. There's parts where Jordan Peterson was explaining like, oh, well, you're not here to debate a Christian. And then he looks on his paper and he's going to read what the actual debate prompt is. They cut it. And I think it's because Jubilee lied to him that of what the title of the video was going to be. Jordan Peterson was like, I'm here to argue Christian values and Christian ethics.
Yeah.
But I'm not a Christian. But Jubilee was like, damn, we can't make a snazzy title out of that, though. We have to make it Christian versus atheists. So Jubilee picked the wrong person for what they wanted, but Jordan Peterson isn't a bad person to explain those ethics. I think he did a really good job.
Apparently, it made for a great video that's doing very well. A lot of people talking about it.
Well, it made for a good hit piece.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
and you know what? I don't mind.
I don't mind
being. If I were him, I wouldn't mind being called nothing.
Yeah,
I don't think.
It's
but
like
look who
sometimes
called him
when I
nothing.
talk,
Somebody who's he barely looks 19 years old. The kid that called
I got to
him
move forward, William. I appreciate your call. Take care.
All right, man.
Thank you, William. Good call.
All right. Nice. And the other William in California, William the Third in Cali. What's up, man? How you doing?
Sound like it got a 3 on it. What's going on, James?
Doing well.
What's up, William?
Crishaun, how you doing, my brother?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
All right. How you doing? I guess when is the show coming on again? You guys should tune in.
Tonight.
Get a good show.
Tonight,
Okay.
the
We're
Misfit
doing it live
Nation.
tonight.
And that's going to be on where?
On
Right.
YouTube at the Misfit Nation podcast.
Nice.
And then the 20th, we'll be moving over to Rumble.
Right.
Great show.
Move.
I
We'll be
recommend
saying
it.
Bye-bye to YouTube. Go ahead.
I recommend it. It's a good show.
Right on.
Thank you, William. William's
you-
kind of
you-
a fan of the Misfit Nation.
That's cool.
Oh, yes. I love them. I think white people, I really think, you know what I hate the most is when they cave in. That's why I like Mark so much. He doesn't cave in. And I think that's their worst problem, is caving in to the liberal thing really bad. And, you know, white people, I want to tell you something. They like being a part of society. They hate being canceled. So they're very afraid of being canceled.
What a mess.
Nobody likes to be ostracized. I have
Right.
to disagree a little bit, William.
Yeah.
In that I think white people who have really kind of taken on to this identity politics thing, they're actually the ones that have been defeated by the liberals, because that's exactly what they wanted us to do, is to be super hyper focused and hypersensitive about our race. White people weren't like that before.
Yeah,
Like
no, they
Mark,
weren't.
I don't even remember being that hypersensitive about his race years ago.
Right. That's fair. That's fair. I just, you know, me and James yesterday were talking about how blacks look into history, but they look at it through a different. They only look at it through a black lens. Remember that, James?
Yeah, they totally do.
Mm-hmm.
So when they read a bunch of stuff, they think they're historians and they conquered the world and everything, but it's a world that's been gone for 150 years.
What a mess.
You're right. They can't even for instance, they'll look at other countries' slavery.
Yes.
And they always identify with the slave rather than just looking at it as like, all right, this is what happened. Let me just kind of analyze it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And then they say
that's a lot of Jewish people fall for too, because they identify with the victimhood of the blacks.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And then they say they've been in slavery for 400 years when the country's only 250 years old. They do all of that. And a lot of times, if you really think about slavery in America, blacks may have been slaves at least time than any race, probably.
Interesting.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Shout out to the blacks. William, I gotta keep it. I gotta keep it moving. I appreciate your call, man.
Crishaun, give me the time again.
Tonight, I'm not sure the time. I'm sorry. I know that's a stupid way to do your show, but
I'll inbox you. I'll inbox you.
Yeah, do that. Do that.
Make sure you just ring the bell on the Misfit Nation podcast on YouTube.
There you go. Hit that notification.
Everybody take care of yourselves.
Thank you, man.
Much love.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye. Wow. Justin from, I believe, Fullerton, California. What's up, Justin? Thank you for calling and holding your live with Crishaun the Don of the Misfit Nation and Hake.
Hey, what's up, James? What's up, Crishaun? Hope you're having a wonderful day, and thanks for taking my call. I just want to give a quick PSA about Knott's Berry Farm. Who likes Knott's Berry Farm? Do you like it?
Wait, what?
What?
Knott's Berry Farm. Do you like it? You like,
of course.
Like
but why do we need a public service announcement? This is the Hake report.
Well, I love everybody, and I just want everybody to be careful with their families. Summer's about to start, and I witnessed a little mini riot. Okay, so
at Knott's,
I was in line last Wednesday on the Calico Rapids. No security, no police, and apparently, it's just some people's inclination to have like a interlocking arm and block people from coming back and forth and saying no. You got to use the restroom, or you don't got to use the restroom. And I almost saw a woman get thrown off.
Well, that has nothing to do necessarily with Knott's Berry Farm specifically. You're saying that happened to you, according to you, at Knott's Berry Farm. But in general, like, there's bad actors at public places causing problems. Is that what your point is?
Yes. So you got to be aware of your surroundings. You got to be aware of, and so what I did is I said a prayer. I tried to de-escalate it. I went up to them with my fingers saying peace, peace. But this woman kept hitting this guy, and this guy kept hitting her. And once his son, big guy, like in his 30s, was about to he lunged down to pick her up and throw her off to the raging rapid thing, the Calico Rapid thing. Once I'm a peaceful guy, but I was like, hey, I put my hands on him and I pulled him back. Luckily, he didn't swing on me, but she kept hitting on him because, he didn't, the whole family didn't want to let the brother and the mom and the sister come back. So luckily I was able to get my wife back, and she came through and she told me, just don't go back. And I let them be, but children were crying. They came up to me asking, why are people like this? I said, it's the devil.
Yeah.
It's demons. And I don't know what Crishaun, what you think, or if you've ever experienced anything like this. But
he's worked security. I'm sure he's seen all kinds of crazy things.
Oh, yeah.
I
break up fights all the time.
Yeah. I got empathy for security.
You work in a
police.
family environment with kids and wives and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I remember one of my first, probably first, second week, there was a guy who was walking and he bumped into a kid. It was like a little girl, and the father shoves the guy that bumped into the kid. The guy swings at the father.
Oh, boy.
They get into a tussling thing. There's a white guy and a black guy.
Tussle.
What a mess.
Yeah.
So I break it up all the time. It's really people. I think anger is addictive.
Yeah.
I think people really get into that, and it gives them a adrenaline kick or something that feels good, and they just want to keep going.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if you should have tried to intervene unless you were just trying to save your wife, Justin.
For sure. I was trying to bring her back because I saw the woman in front of me find out that her brother couldn't get through, so she was going to make sure he got through. And then he said, they're fighting. So I went there to people were asking me to do something, so I walked in and I tried to get, my wife through because I figured she can't get through.
Right.
But they were very adamant that this mother couldn't come back with her kids, and people use the restroom all the time. So definitely, if you're at Knott's, say help, say security, say police, and know the devil's there, because there's pride, there's addiction to hatred or whatever, to violence. But you may not want to be in violence, but if you sit idly by witnessing it, you're just almost like encouraging it. And that's why I noticed a lot of the people are like,
no,
oh,
you should get out of there. You should leave the area if you witness it, if you can.
But you can't.
No, I
you
disagree.
Can,
I think he's right. I think that's why that's the part that I say that white people have lost sort of the control of society, the leadership, is that you're running away when you should be running towards the danger.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But I said a prayer. I put my fingers. I said peace. I said, please let my wife come to you. And he's like, you should go back with your family. I'm like, look, I don't know who this girl is, but you don't need to put your hands on her. You need to not like fight. And then women are like, tell me, there's children here. Watch out. And I'm like, excuse me, sorry. But I'll be trying to let him take his arms down. They were interlocked, his wife, his kid, himself. They had all knot shirts on. I was like, wow, this is these are our people. And we have to, not just because of the race, but we have to let people understand you can't do that. And the man even told the woman, oh, these are your kids? And she's white and their kids are black, but it was like awkward because they were biracial, you know. And
I think I disagree with you guys.
No,
I think the blacks have the right idea. Stay out of other people's drama and fights, because you don't know the situation, man. That's dangerous. I would leave my wife behind.
But then how do you, in your right mind, go online and complain about how we're losing America if you're willing to?
Because we are.
Yeah, but that's because you let it.
But I didn't let it
slip through your fingers.
It's already gone when it's at that point where people are like that. It's already gone. You already lost it.
It's that comfort thing I was talking about earlier, Hake.
Yeah,
it's the comfort thing. Your forefathers were brave and had balls.
I know, but I'm not gonna act like I am so hard or I'm a peaceful person and I can just say a prayer and reason with insane people.
So then you don't have as much of a faith in God as you think.
Yeah,
but that's not faith in God. That's foolhardy.
No, it's not.
I think it is.
If you have a faith in God and you have a feeling of not getting involved, then I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like after you pray and you're like, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. You got to be sensible.
Yeah, I'm not saying every single thing, but there has to be like...
if you're a security guard and you're supposed to deal with the situation, you shouldn't run away. But if you're a man with your kids and stuff... Oh, he disconnected. Thanks, Justin and Fullerton. But if you're a man... If you have to go get your wife, I guess you have to go get your wife. But I wouldn't even talk to these people because they're insane. It's dangerous nowadays. People are carrying knives, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I carry guns. I don't care about knives.
But
I'm waiting for somebody to pull out a gun.
Don't they have metal detectors at these amusement parks, and you're not supposed to carry in? You're not supposed to have your Second Amendment inside some of these places.
Yeah. Well, then you'd assume they wouldn't have knives either.
Right. Terrible.
So
go ahead with your point.
Well, my thing is it's not like I encourage men to be capable of violence.
Yeah.
Not be a violent person, but be capable of it, because the scumbags and the evil people in this world are violent.
Right.
So the good people have to be violent as well. We just have to be righteous about it. We have to know when and when not to be.
Yeah.
Have resistance when we need to.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, you shouldn't be afraid of the violence, for sure. Oh, Justin and Fullerton, you're back. You're disconnected there.
Yeah.
Last word, Justin. Go ahead.
I was listening. Everything you're saying is wise on both sides, but if we believe in the Bible, in Jesus, and the words of God, to stand idly by idleness is a sin, and we should definitely be about our business, de-escalating. But if we have to be not violent, like I've been accused of being a violent person because I spoke up, but you don't have to speak up in a manner to escalate something.
But there's a time to do nothing. And sitting idly by is different. Sitting idly by or getting away from these psychos who are fighting and you don't even know what they're fighting about.
You can't let evil get away with it.
Yeah, you can. You better.
You can't stand idly by.
Yes,
Good
you
men
can.
that stand by need to stand ready.
It's not necessarily your place
to de-escalate a situation.
No,
at all
man.
times. Be aware of your situation.
Right.
God prompted me to do it. I said a prayer first. I waited. It got a little bit more and more out of hand, and I was just cringing inside. That was just me, and it worked out.
How do you know it was
to
God?
God be the glory.
Well,
I know
you got away with it.
God
that
is
doesn't mean
love.
it worked out.
God is peace. God is love and God is peace. That's what I came there with, and that's what came out of it at the end. Now, their individual choices, I couldn't stop them, but they made their choices on what they did, you know. But I made it not be more uncontrollable. I got my wife back, and everybody was peaceful, so it was cool.
Whatever. I don't know if I would have even talked to those people. I would have just gone and got my wife, not said a word to any of them. But you do you, man.
I don't judge you. I don't judge you either.
You do you. I don't know. I think you have I think you have an idea about God that may not be real.
In what way?
Yeah, there are a lot of people that have got an idea that's not real, but I think I'm based in reality. Well,
being in the
you don't
moment
think
and
I'm based in reality? I'm based right in that present moment, and I'm
no, but you're saying a prayer
so,
and basing on a feeling.
And then I act
when
on
the common sense will tell you
on my calling. When I act on my calling, that's all I do is I proceed with that.
All right, I gotta go, Justin.
Off.
I appreciate it, man.
All right,
take care.
All right.
We got to get back. We got to get under control. Just to answer your question, though, Crishaun.
Yeah.
Common sense will tell you, like, if you have your wits about you, then you know, you can see whether this is something that I can, this is a situation I can walk into, or this is a situation I got to get away from. Because it's not your business to get involved in every dumb crime that's being committed. Necessarily, or fight.
Yeah, I agree. Not every single one you're obligated to, but I do think my overall point is that I do think it's our job as men to protect the weaker people in our society, meaning women and children.
Right.
And also to keep some kind of order. Otherwise, the only order there's going to be is by a bunch of criminals and psychopaths.
Yeah.
So.
In the government and in the streets.
Yeah, if you're making that this is my whole thing. If you're making that decision to not get involved based on fear, then just be honest and say that you're a coward and you don't want to get involved. If I'm not saying it as an insult.
Right.
Some people just aren't built like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but if you're saying like,
but sometimes the coward's way coincides with the wise way.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
If you're just basing that
no, but
on
I'm saying sometimes.
Yeah, if you're just basing that on survival, that's one thing. Like,
right.
It's wiser to live
right
and fight another day. But if you're not fighting another day, then you're just being a coward. Do you get what I'm saying?
Right. You're right. But I'm just saying that just because you feel fear doesn't mean that you should go and deal with this crazy situation as foolhardy.
Yeah, look, people
sometimes feel fear to do something, and they think that's a sign that they should or ought to do it. And that's not a sign that you ought to do it.
I think there should be more reverence to people who do feel fear and still do it.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because they know it's the right thing to do.
If it's right, though.
That's what I'm saying. If it's the right thing to do and you have to do it, and you see like, okay, I'm the only one that can do it, then you not doing it, I think that's what goes into, I think it was Justin or Jeff who just called him.
Yeah, Justin in Fullerton. I think Justin,
that's where he was kind of going.
Justin has a harmless personality, or at least he strikes me as having a harmless personality, and that could go either way. Harmless, but trying to be forceful. So that could diffuse, but it can also enrage. So I don't know. I'm not sure about him.
Look, I'm not.
I wasn't there, you know.
I'm not pretending to be some tough guy or anything like that. I'm really not. I'm truly not a tough guy.
No, I know, but
like
if you're harmless and reasonable, if you come out there meaning no harm, then you're not escalating. But you come out there with strength, then you can deal with the situation and not make it worse.
Well, I was getting mad when I was looking at all the theft and stuff that was going on. I think it's sickening when you watch people just go in and bag a bunch of stuff and walk out like it's nothing. So when I got the opportunity to take a job to do something about it,
right,
I did. There's a lot of people who get the same opportunity who go, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to sit around and complain about it. That's more my area. You get what I'm
Indeed.
saying?
Yeah.
So my place is I do things about it.
Nice.
And that's where I think we just need more men like that. There's too many men that are sitting there cowering in a corner.
That is
rather
true.
than- yeah.
And the
And
cowards,
then they're going, well, I just want to survive. I just want to. Okay, that's fair. Don't get me
right?
wrong.
Yeah. Sometimes the cowards should sit by because they won't have the clear head to deal with the situation right. There's
Yes.
like times when my friend used to be able to do like backflips, and he said, "Right now I'm scared, and if I'm scared, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to do the backflip
Yeah.
because it could be dangerous."
I used to be a daredevil when I was younger. I used to jump off of things.
You
and-
seem like it.
Yeah, that's. So I think that's where I lost a lot of my fear.
That's cool.
Is like just doing it and then accepting what's gonna happen.
Right on, man.
I think that's kind of like how you get over fear. Just accept
True.
you could die.
Indeed. Evil is still real has a super chat. Blacks legitimately graduating? Yeah, right, he says. Special ed should have its own graduation at a Waffle House. Brutal. Brutal, CJ.
It's like a three-part offensive. I like it.
Yeah. Shout out. He's so interesting. Man, we're within the last 5 minutes. I'm not going to be able to get to Mark and the rest of the callers.
Mark from Cali?
Yeah, Mark from California. I wanted
Let's
to.
just waste the rest of the show on Mark.
Should we?
I'm down.
He's
I
been
love
on
Mark.
hold forever. Mark in Los Angeles. We have 2 minutes. Go ahead with
What are you
Crishaun the
promoting today,
Don.
Mark?
Go ahead.
Thank you guys for letting me on. I'll make it quick. I just wanted to say I agree with everything that's been said. Only slightly different on whether being a small conservative, small government conservative versus big government. I think under normal circumstances, having been a small conservative government would have worked in the 50s and 60s when segregation was legal. It was the feds who made segregation illegal everywhere, and that could be reversed if we had a pro-white, pro-Christian federal government. Even if it was a bit of an authoritarian government for a short time, till we can get things straightened out in this country without judges stepping in the way and Democrats and the weasel
Did you just
media.
say, Mark, did you just say authoritarian for a short period of time? Are you stupid?
Exactly, that's exactly what
Are
I
you an
said.
idiot?
Because the situation is we
You're
can't even get a
willing to
moderate.
give. Hold on.
Trump.
You're willing to give our government that much power and expect them to only keep it for a short period of time? You're a
As
naive
long as it
fool.
was pro-white
That's
and
why I said
pro-Christian.
get rid of your identity politics because it's bringing you down a really bad route.
No, there's no other way. Tell me another way. How else are we going to solve the
live with just
genocide
white
that's
people
currently
if you want.
happening to the
1
white
minute.
race?
1 minute. Go ahead.
Is that for
Live
me?
wherever you
Yeah,
want.
1
Mark.
minute.
Live
1
around
minute,
white
and
people.
I'm ending the stream.
Leave,
Okay, I just wanted to say-
here's my advice to you, Mark. Get out of California first off. Get out of LA because it's a cesspool and it's rotting your brain.
Okay, go ahead, Mark. 30 seconds.
No, I don't think that there's any other way out of this mess, whether I leave California or not, is if the government doesn't step in for the white man. Now, Trump's doing his best, but we've got judges that are overruling him unconstitutionally. Everything they've done since Brown versus Board has been unconstitutional and anti-white. We're going to need an authoritarian government for a short time to make things right again. Then we can go back to the way the Founding Fathers wanted it to be, which is a white-run constitutional republic.
All right.
Something that we've gotten away from so far. It will take, a strong government to get us back on key.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, give all your rights and power to
Thank
the
you,
American
Mark. Take care.
government.
Crishaun the
I'm
Don.
sure that's going to work out for you.
Thanks, man. I got to end the stream right now. Take care.
Yeah, all right, Hake. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Much love, brother.
All right. You too. Bye, guys. The rest of the callers, take it.
The views, information, thoughts, and opinions expressed during this show are the individual's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of the JLP Network or Bond. Their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The JLP Network and Bond name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service.